Welcome to my Python series. This is Lesson 1, Introduction. So what is Python? Python is a popular general-purpose programming language. Its versatility and straightforward syntax makes it a great language for beginners. It can be used to make video games and websites, automate tasks, analyze data, and more. For this series, I'm going to be using a website called Replit, which allows us to easily write and run Python code. So if you haven't already, go ahead and make an account. Starting off with the print function. So a function performs a certain task, and many functions are built into the language, such as the print function. Many functions also accept values called arguments. For instance, the print function accepts text, which it then displays to the screen. For example, let's say we want to print hello world to the screen. So we'll call the print function, and its argument will be a string. We'll learn about what that is later, but it's basically just text, and we have hello world in quotation marks. We'll display that, and we get hello world in the console. We can also print a number, so if we print 5 and run this, it displays the number 5. Variables are used to store values. This is the syntax for defining a variable, so we have the name on the left and its value on the right. Whenever a variable is mentioned in code, it is replaced by its value. For example, let's say we want a num variable, and you can name this anything. I'm just naming it num, and we'll set it to 5. When we print num, this will be replaced by its value, so it will display 5 to the screen. So this is just a way of storing values. Variable name rules. A variable name must start with a letter or underscore. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores, which is letters, numbers, and underscores. Variable names are case sensitive, so different capitalization will result in different names. Tips for naming variables. Use either a snake case, which is different words separated by underscores, or a camel case, which is each new word begins with a capital letter for variables with multiple words. Make variable names clear and specific so that someone else looking at your code will be able to tell what it's for. Some examples of good variable names would be preferred first name separated by underscores and total. These are specific and also easy to read. Bad variable name examples, preferred first name without underscores. This is difficult to read, and then X, which is too vague. Moving on to data types. The value of a variable will always be of a certain data type. Different types of data can do different things. These types include a string, which is a sequence of characters. So hello world from earlier was a string, and these go inside of quotation marks. An integer, which is a whole number. A float, which is a decimal or fraction. And a boolean, which is a value of either true or false. The type function returns the type of a variable. For example, if we want to print the type of this num, we get it is of the class integer. So class is just another word for data type. String interpolation is used to plug variables into strings. As an example here, we have a variable called myString, and its value is an f string, so this f allows us to plug in variables. And these variables go inside of curly brackets. When the string is used, that variable inside of the curly brackets will be replaced by its value. For example, let's say we wanted to plug this variable into a string. So I'll make a variable for this string, and it will be an f string, so f quotation marks, and I'll just say number, and then in curly brackets, it'll be the num variable. So when I print this, we get number 5 because it plugged in the value of this variable into the string. The input function is used to gather a response from the user. User input can be stored in a variable, and the return value is always a string. So even if the user inputs a number, it will be its string form. So as an example, we have user input equals input, and then inside of the input parentheses is the argument, which is the prompt. So that will be a string, and it will be displayed to the user when it's time for them to input an answer. To test everything that we've learned, let's look at an exercise. Write a program that asks the user's name and age and prints a string in the form, my name is blank and I am blank years old. So the blanks will be replaced by the name and age respectively. So since we need both the name and the age, we'll be using two different inputs and we'll store each in a different variable. So we'll have a name variable, and this will be input, what is your name? That's the prompt. And then age, input, how old are you? Now let's make a string with these two variables. We'll just say my string, and then we need an f string since we're plugging in these variables. My name is name, and I am age years old. Now let's print the value of the string. I'll put in my name, and I'll put in my age. So you get my name is Theo, and I'm 16 years old. This is the string that was printed. Arithmetic operators are used to do math. So there's the addition, subtraction, multiplication, which is an asterisk symbol, and division, which is a /. Type conversion functions are used to change a value's type. So these functions will accept a value and convert it to a type and return the result. For example, let's say we have a variable and it has a value of a number in its string form. If we want to convert this to an integer form, we can say num equals int on num. So we're calling the int function on this number variable, and we're setting that to the variable. Let's print the type of num at both stages. So we'll print type num before we convert it, and then we'll print type num after we set it to its integer form. So as you can see, first we get that as a string, and then we get that as an int. Finally, let's write a program that finds the sum of two integers as inputted by the user and prints a string in the form blank plus blank equals blank. So we need two different inputs again. Let's say num1 equals input first number, and then num2 is input second number. Now we want to find their sum, but in this form, they are still strings because input returns a string. So we need to convert them to their integer forms. So we'll call the int function on the result of these inputs. Now we can make a variable for the sums, which will just be num1 plus num2. Now we just need a string to display it, so we'll say my string equals, and we need an f string again, num1 plus num2 equals sum. Now let's print the string and run the code. So input 1 and then 2, we get 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's all for this lesson. I'll link the solutions in the description.